Before we go into operations, which is an important part of the business model class that we are trying to work the last couple of days, we noticed that structure is something that we finished with, the hierarchy, the flat, and then the mixed, and then we went into also the strategy, which we've predominantly focused on marketing. Now we are going into operations and process. As we proceed into this, just giving you a brief intro into this concept of how do we use mindfulness in this process. Think of a parent who's got a child, and this child is going to discover the world. As the child is going to discover the world is going to give a ton of possibilities, and those possibilities, if we choose to put them in the bins of good and bad, can have an impact on them. How much are we trying to safeguard this child? Up to a certain age, till the child is with us, we have a control of all the parameters that we set for this child in terms of studying habits that are good for life, habits that are for health and hygiene. We can do all of that. But there comes a stage where, even as they start attending school or university, they are outside the purview of the parent. So we are hoping that all the parameters will fall in place and that they will make the right choices and the right things will impact them. The wrong things, even if they come in contact with them, they're not highly influenced by it, or they are influenced to the point of them deciding, is that good or bad? So we are very protective of this thinking. So even if we are not in those places where they are, we are hoping that the right things will happen. This is exactly how the mind is. We are raising this child called the mind, and the mind automatically thinks of certain things we feel at times, and then at times we feel it's what energies we're feeding into it, and we want it to make the right decisions as the mind passes things on to the intellect. And so to avoid all that, we have found out that working from the place of wisdom, right from the very get-go, and allow the wisdom to direct the intellect, and then the intellect to direct the mind, is like raising this child which is full of wisdom from the very get-go. Then constantly saying that I want you to be intelligent, I want you to use the right mind. If we start from the place of wisdom, automatically the intellect is guided by the right GPS system, and then the intellect will further influence the mind. And such are all how the practices and operations and processes, how they work. In other words, when we see that something is very process oriented, we work upon it and see, are all the processes important for this to happen, for a particular task to happen, or for a series of tasks to happen. If we see redundant things, we remove them. But if we see things that are more efficient, or if we think that an insertion of an efficient process can make it better, we incorporate it. So pretty much like raising this child. So when we go through certain processes that are redundant, that are wasteful, that are not helpful, or are not contributing to a certain event happening successfully, we remove them, right? But at the same time, we just should not develop a bad feeling that should not have happened. It is because of the redundant steps that were wasteful or not productive that we discovered the right steps. So always being thankful of every step that we've gone through is very important. Yes, ideally we would all like to have the efficient steps right from the very get-go. If we do that, then yes, we wouldn't have something called process improvement at all, because we'd have taken the right steps from the very get-go. But if we go through the wrong processes is when we are thankful of the right processes, the right steps in it. And it also helps us build empathy with anyone that is going through the process of, figuring out if the right steps were taken. So this is the kind of introduction that we would like to give before we go into operations and process management. Thank you.